I have had sex outside of marriage.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm at the right light now.
Everyone was doing it. We're on many cycles with that. Like, I've had an orgy with females. I've had, that one person you can just hit up anytime you want to and they're available. At some point you have to stop avoiding a sin because God hates not sinners, but the sin, because it comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And I'm now married, and my husband abstained till marriage, and he has had to deal with the repercussions of my sin in the past.
Yeah, I wasn't saved until I was 20, and before that time.
This is a heavy topic, because it's more, I'll say it's more relatable to
everyone.
Yeah, to everyone. Pretty sure we're both saving ourselves.
Not for each other, but for marriage.
Because I try to,
What? Yes.
But that's a heavy topic because, well, when you grow up in a really sheltered Christian family or in a Christian bubble, like those things are natural. But then when you meet someone that's outside of that bubble and they haven't been a Christian their whole lives and they didn't save themselves, and then like you start liking each other, and it's like, oh, like there's something you can't skip over. I mean, of course you can forgive and stuff, but it's a really heavy topic for couples to discuss.
It does bring a little bit of trauma every once in a while, huh?
Yeah.
And I think like you said, that the touch of the bubble, touching on the bubble part is like, growing up in a Christian family and all this stuff, you hear all the Christian do's and don'ts. And so a lot of the time, some people don't even understand. They just know not to do this stuff. So it's like, okay, I know not to have sex until I'm married. But they don't know why. People don't understand why until you are like getting married to somebody and they're pouring out all this stuff, or you're in a relationship and they still have connections to their person, but not even so much that matters, but like I think the point of sex and all that stuff is the consummation of a marriage. Consecration. What does consummation mean?
I don't think that's a word.
It's consummation. Consecration of a marriage, of a binding of two souls, all that stuff, flesh, becoming one, all those things. And so the thing is, like, it's not like God won't forgive you. It's not like God won't like redeem you and sanctify you and is continuing to justify you every day. Like, it's not like once you have sex in marriage, it's like over. But there are things that we still face, and that like if you cut your arm, you're gonna have a scar, probably. If you have sex before marriage, if you have porn addiction before marriage, if you carry all these things into your marriage, not only does it like kind of put a little damper on the consummation part, but you will always still kind of have these like thoughts and struggles and things, which can be hard. And I'm not saying God can't completely wipe our slates clean, because I believe he is. I believe Jesus is a big redeemer and all this stuff. But yeah, no, it's definitely not that it's not a good idea, but it's more than just if it happens, it happens, or if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's a real thing. And I think just our culture nowadays, everything's sexualized and everything is dirtied, and it doesn't seem like it's important, but really it does a number on the soul. Even if you have sex before marriage and you never get married, it still does a number on you, and it's still, sometimes you get triggered and things that just happen within you. I feel like abstinence is in the Bible for a reason.
Yeah,
a heavy reason.
Well, definitely because it's like like soul ties, even though like the word isn't in the Bible. Like when two become one, it's not meant to separate, and that's why like when you do have sex out of the marriage, and then you go, you know, it kind of hurts your partner or like your spouse, because well, now there's someone else that, you know, that's not me that you've entangled with, in the words of J.S. Smith. But like there's emotional, spiritual, physical weight that comes with that, and it doesn't separate easily when you just break up. And there's baggage that you carry on that you put onto other people, and of course God can redeem you and stuff, but sometimes like you have to live with your choices, and you have to live with knowing that this thing happened, or knowing that, I don't know, knowing that it could have been a little bit better in the start.
Indeed.
We'll continue.
I did have sex outside of marriage, and even when I was first becoming Christian, I would hear people say, oh, you can't have sex outside of marriage. And I said, okay, well, I'll do everything else, but I won't do that one thing, because that's a really hard thing to give up.
You know, when you have sex with somebody, it's really hard to move on from that. You start feeling all types of things with yourself, and it's just remembering that God doesn't say this to be mean or to be a dictator, but to protect you.
Yeah, if I can add to that, to be completely honest with you, I'm scared of sex. I had a very traumatic experience when I was younger, where I've had family members intend to take advantage of me. And because of that traumatic experience, I just have had that fear to be enclosed with just one man in a room.
Even though I have not lost my virginity, pornography has been something that has been rampant in my life. And that sexual sin as well is truly, in my spiritual experience, has been almost equal. Going wrong against God, going wrong against self, that brings so much shame, so much guilt. But when the forgiveness comes, we see the true glory of God, because we see how broken we were and how reformed we are through Christ.
That's the other thing I wanted to like address. Like you said, like pornography, like it's like we're comparing. Well, those are the ones we think are different, but they're really the same thing, because when you're doing that, you're having sex with someone that's not your husband or wife. Mm-hmm. Even if it is just over a screen, because it's like a spiritual connection. And there's 2 points. It's like, one, sex. I believe sex is a drug, and it's meant to be, but it's meant to be for you to be addicted to your husband or wife, and not to anybody else. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's hard to have sex outside of marriage, because it makes you addicted to someone that is not your life partner. Yeah. And that hurts a marriage. Mm. And that hurts trust and commitment issues.
Yeah, bro.
And then the second thing is like...
hurts your own soul.
Yeah. What was the second point? All right, go.
I don't know. No, but there's definitely a thing where, you know, maybe it's fun to have sex with anybody you want, whenever you want. Try different things and people and all that stuff. But it's like you said, like sex is supposed to be this, you know, person that you have permanently with you forever. I mean, not even to sound sappy, but like really. And so it's like when you're just giving everybody everything, then it's like, but then none of them stick around. Mm. Like just imagining that, it sounds like it would be fun in the moment, but it sounds like it's just that typical Christian testimony of, I've tried everything in the world and nothing was ever satisfying kind of thing. It's like, because I just kept giving myself away to all these different things, all I ever ended up with is kind of just this like longing for the next thing.
Yeah.
And yet, when I did the next thing, it was never satisfying. And it was never enough. And I think even the same with pornography. It's like, it's never enough. It's never fulfilling enough. And I'm not talking about like, oh, I wish I wasn't on the screen, but like no feeling, no visuals, no doing a specific thing will ever be enough if you don't do it the way that God had intended it.
Yeah.
And I think some people don't even realize that, and that's why they keep doing, keep going, keep trying, because they're still looking for the one thing that God had intended them to have in the first place.
I remember the second point is that when you have sex out of marriage, well, sex is supposed to be like I said, this big spiritual thing, like this connectivity between a husband and a wife. Like, okay, if me and my future girlfriend were living together and we were having sex and we were doing all the things of a marriage, but not in marriage, then what's the difference between us just being boyfriend and girlfriend and us being married already?
And a lot of people do that. In the secular world, a lot of people don't find the need for marriage because they're already doing everything that a marriage is. And so they're like, what is the point other than to celebrate and be flashy and all this stuff? It's like, yeah, it's permanent, but then a lot of people, it causes them to be afraid of the commitment because of that stuff. Like, oh man, I already do this with a boyfriend and girlfriend. Taking it to the next step of marriage is nothing. Because even the pandemic of divorce in our world is crazy. Like, nothing seems to be permanent because we don't treat anything like it's sacred. We don't treat anything like it's permanent. And so therefore, like, we cannot commit to about anything. And so we give ourselves wherever because we don't believe that we're super sacred. So we let everybody drive our Lambo because we don't believe that it's valuable. We don't believe that it's worth what it's worth. So we don't take care of it. We don't wash it. We don't do all this stuff. You know what I'm saying, though?
I'm just thinking of that one Cardi B.
What Cardi B?
My little garage.
You see this, guys?
Like, we're not trying to put shame on on anybody.
Yeah, no.
But
if
like,
you made mistakes, we all have made mistakes.
God forgives people. Well, it's crazy to me how some people, like, they live together, they have sex together, they have a baby together, but they're not married. And it's a scary thing when you have things that require commitment, but there's no commitment behind it. And that's why a bunch of like youth students, a bunch of people are just hurt by their parents, is because there's no commitment and there's no structure when they needed it. And that's what abstaining from sex and waiting to marriage helps increase the chances of having a structure for not only yourself, but for your kids and the rest of your family. So like saving yourself is not only saving yourself, but saving your whole family too.
And that's a cool thing. Because when we get on the topic of marriage, like, marriage is supposed to be, you have forfeited your option to dip. Like, you have given up that for this person. And it's interesting because a lot of people are like, but how can I know I want to marry this person if I haven't lived with them and if I haven't had sex with them? And it's probably because I would say there's probably things that are more important that you're marrying them for. Not how good are they in bed, or not are they clean in the house, or can I be around them? But there's like, and that's the thing, there's like, if that was the case, then nobody would get married. But that's supposed to be the point, is that marriage is this combination of starting a family with somebody is so important and so foundational, not for you only, not for just your spouse, but for your children and for the people that you impact, all the eyes that are on your marriage and your family, you're impacting them through your marriage, through your family. And it's interesting that, like, we think even in marriage, there's a back door. But it's like, to commit to something, to give yourself to someone is a is like a sealed deal kind of thing. Like it's serious. And sure, problems come up and things happen, but that's the point that you need to, like, look at me, 22 years old, thinking I'm some marriage counselor.
We're getting to
like
the podcast right now.
Like you are making a commitment that in sickness, in health, in life, in death, like we are going to work things out and do it. And that's the funny thing. Somebody said in one of our groups a while ago that like you can have sex with anybody, because it's not about like you can, as in not like go do it, it's okay, but as in like you have the free will to have sex with anybody, and it will probably always be nice. And so the thing is, like in marriage, sex is this thing where it's supposed to bring you closer. It's this pleasure thing that you get to do, but that's not why you get married. That's not what you get married for. And even too, that's a big problem in a lot of marriages, especially with Christians. We're gonna go off on the college Christians right now, bro. All you guys get married right away just because you want to do a little diddly daddly.
It's understandable though.
It is understandable because you have the urges, but do you even know your person? Is this a lifelong person that you are willing to commit to forever, or do you just want to have sex guilt-free before God? And I think those are big things to consider. And even you, single person, if you're single and you intend on being single for the rest of your life, like, sex still does a number on your soul. So I wouldn't say to just be like, well, I can have sex with whoever I want because I'm never planning on getting married. It's like, no. It's that continued, it's just like pornography. It's just like drugs. It's just like anything that you could get addicted to and need a re-up every once in a while, is because you're constantly going to need more. And it's constantly always going to leave you lower and lower, and the feeling's never going to be as fun as the first time. And it's never going to reach that, which you want it to be.
Would you marry someone that didn't save themselves? Or would that be really hard for you?
I wouldn't mind if they were a Christian, you know? If they were truly loving, if they were truly caring, if they were truly a follower of Christ, and they loved me and they were committed to me, and they had messed up, I'm sure there's things, like, I'm sure I would think about it, and I'd be sad, but there's things that in order to love somebody, you have to admit that we all make mistakes and we all do things. And if somebody has repented and been forgiven by God, then I should have the capacity to also forgive them for them and see them the way that God sees them, especially in marriage. Because if you know, love holds no record of wrongs. So if you want to say you love your wife, but you're holding a record of wrong, then you don't love your wife, is low-key my thought process. And that's the thing, but these are all things you talk about before you get married. Hopefully you don't get married and like on your wedding night she's like,
oh, no, don't say
Bobby, Jackson, you know, just starts listing off names. Like there's obviously a thing where you can trust them and know them and you love them and you can forgive them. And that's okay. I mean, that's okay with me, because you talk about all the things, like, I have not been fully perfect with my body, and so I'm not going to hold somebody to a standard that is completely, like, and treat them like, oh, you had sex? We cannot, like, be together. Like, you know, like, and you can't just, like, yeah. So I would say, like, how can I judge somebody that I want to be my wife, even, especially my wife? Because too, you get married and they are gonna mess up. They hopefully won't be having sex, but if you get married and they, you know, do something, you're gonna have to forgive your spouse, and you're gonna want to hope that they forgive you for all the times that we mess up. And so I think to be able to show forgiveness, be able to work things out, as always, that I think it would be okay. But how about you?
I would think I would be okay with it. It would definitely be a hard thing to swallow and to handle. But my question would be like if like we were talking to each other and like you admitted this thing that like you didn't save yourself. My question is like, is that person dead? Because as Christians, Jesus calls us to die to ourselves like every day. So like you can tell me this bad thing.
Are they dead?
But like, is that person the same person I'm looking at right now? Because if it is, then no. But if you're serious, if you're a Christian, if you are about it, then I don't see a problem with it.
Oh yeah, obviously there's 100 other reasons why I would marry somebody and why I wouldn't.
But here's my implication. I think it depends on like how many. Like, I'm not just trying to judge people's body counts, but I think depending on how much you share or how much you've done will increase the amount of time it would take for me to marry you. Because it's really
work through stuff.
Because it's really easy to say that this is all in the past when it's only been like a week or a month. But over time comes the real test of like, are you committed? Are you faithful to this? And that's how you can test that out.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because you want to. Really, the way I see it is, you could have done a million things, but it's like, are you different? Like, when you met Christ, like you said, did all this die? Did this change? Is who you were back then, and I'm not just talking about like impurity and stuff, but is who you were back then different from who you are now and how you want to live the rest of your life? Because that is that's just a no-brainer. If somebody never had sex and they wanted to, and we were like dating and talking, but they were just not living their life as a Christian, I'm like, no, bro, no bueno.
Yeah.
Just because they don't understand. They don't understand the sanctity of marriage. Why would I want to marry somebody like that then? But yeah, and so it's like, can we see eye to eye on the way we picture our future? Like, is it us, and is it going to be like dedicated and serious? And if I wasn't here, would you live your life the same way? Like, are you a Christian for me, or are you a Christian for you? And my hope would be you're a Christian for you, and we're both combining in that, and not just
That's why it's a good thing to be patient in dating and before you're married, because it's easy to put up a front for someone you fall in love with for like a month or a year, but if you're dating for a while, you're gonna let your guard down. And when you let your guard down and all these walls and masks hit the floor, you're going to see what's really there. And that's what's going to carry into your marriage. Because you can say, you're a Christian, but what about all this baggage that you're still carrying? Like, how are we going to deal with that? How are you seeking God? How are you going to, like, your fellow brothers and sisters to help you overcome these things, so that when we get married, we're going in strong. And there's not these things that you're hiding or struggling with, but I fully know what I'm getting myself into.
Of course.
And that goes both ways. It goes to protect both of us.
Of course. Yeah. It just goes back to, do you know this person? Do you know this person? And can you lift them up when they're down? Can you forgive them when they're down? And can they lift you up when you're down? Can they forgive you when you're needing forgiveness? Like you said, like, it protects both. And it's, are you willing to love that person? And is this person willing to love you? Thank you. Love you enough to wait till marriage. Because if you're like, imagine you're like Imagine you're having sex in your relationship with that person and you're like, did you sleep with anybody before me? And they're like, no. But you are in your relationship already before marriage. And so then it's like, well, like, are you practicing what you preach yourself too? So it's like, yeah, okay, gotta be serious. Walk in, do you love him? Love weights. That's what the 7th grade campaign would go around our school saying. All
right, my last point before I'm done, my last point is that if I would do it to you, I would do it for you. Mm-hmm. Like if I do it to you while we're dating, I would do it for you in marriage. So if you are the most important person to me, and I can deny you of sex, then when we're in marriage and there's a temptation coming, maybe there's another woman, another guy,
control.
Would I not deny that person for the person I love the most? Mm-hmm. And that's how you know you can trust me. Mm-hmm. Because I did it before, why won't I do it again? And I only do that out of the love of God.
Come on.
And the fear of God.
You need Jesus, bro. You need Jesus.
All I have to say before we resume is that you have to realize that often the things outside of marriage can damage the things inside of marriage. And those are the things you have to be careful.